Okay. Now let me just confirm. Indeed. Okay. Perfect. All right, a link to the live stream is in Stage Archive. All right, well, welcome to this week's Community AMA. If this is your first time, the purpose of these weekly AMAs is to enhance educational communication between Sphere's core and community. The general layout of the AMA is that first I will talk about any major updates from the core team. Second, I will address some general questions or concerns from the community pulled from all over Discord by our mods over the past week. And third, I will go through questions asked in the AMA questions section of the Sphere Finance Discord, which you are all, of course, free to use to have your questions answered. Finally, if we have time at the end, I'd like to go back to use the stage chat and address any questions or concerns that pop up during the AMA itself. These AMAs are live on Discord as well as on YouTube, with the recordings made available on YouTube shortly after the recording ends. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. First, I do want to apologize for the time change for the non-US folk. We had the daylight savings time switch, so for me, everything is now 1 hour later relative to UTC. But this will be recorded as always and posted to YouTube as the live stream, so it will always be accessible. So no worries if you cannot attend the AMA for the whole time or at all. All right. Last week, we revealed our first Dyson compounding strategy with the Gains Network, or GNS, which is a perpetual decentralized exchange on Polygon that allows users to trade with leverage, some pretty high leverage actually. And they have daily volumes in the hundreds of millions of dollars. GNS is their main utility token. It earns trade fees from the platform in DAI, and it does have to be harvested or claimed. It's received as an APR. But Dyson will have a vault where you can single stake GNS, and Dyson will automatically claim any earned DAI and swap it for more GNS to compound your holdings. Currently, this is the only strategy like this for GNS, which is pretty cool. And thanks to efficiencies in time and gas costs, Dyson's GNS strategy during testing was around 60% more capital efficient than manual compounding, which is quite nice. And of course, as we all know, Dyson's performance fees will go back to Sphere for deflation and or liquidity injection. So the more TVL in Dyson, the better for Sphere. All right. There is now a yield farming channel in Discord that's actually just above the AMA questions. So if you have any yield farming ideas for Sphere or just want to talk about anything and everything yield farming, then this is the place to discuss it. Awesome. Following MATIC's pump, as we all saw in the announcements, the core decided to de-risk some of that MATIC position by selling around 575K at $1.16, and this will all go to buying and burning Sphere. So it's awesome that we have that those funds available now. On top of that, we actually burned another 4.1 million Sphere with a valuation of around $18,000. So our circulating supply is now, of course, less than 8 billion tokens. And looking on the side here of Discord, we are at just under 970 million Sphere tokens burned. Heck yeah. Okay, Goss Gang is launching very soon, and they are going to have a one-on-one with Sim on Monday, November 14th at 5 p.m. UTC. Check the announcements for the link, as well as to mark yourself as interested for the event so that you can be notified. All right. So that is the majority of, well, that is the core updates for this week. Next up, we have a couple of more detailed voice of the community questions. So first question was, and actually this one in particular came up a few times later in the AMA questions, but we'll address them each as we get to them. So will we be repairing with MATIC, and if so, when? There have been some concerns about the security of USD Plus given its recent issues. So USD Plus did experience a very unfortunate event on the BNB chain, but this was the result of Equinox DEX team, or the Equinox DEX team, accidentally locking over $400,000 in funds held by Overnight for at least 10 years as a result of test-only code being applied on a production environment. So this was not an error made by the Overnight team. Even so, the Overnight team is working quite hard to come up with a compensation plan for those locked funds. Everything else about Overnight USD Plus has been functioning well, and if there was indeed a concern about USD Plus itself, we would take any action as necessary. But right now, we remain confident in and partnered with their team. It's also important to point out, and this comes up later as well, that a temporary pump in the price of MATIC does not necessarily mean a reversal in the market sentiment from bearish to bullish. And certainly the price action over the past couple of days helps illustrate that point. All bear markets are going to have bullish pumps within them, just as all bullish markets will have periods of selling. So it's important to keep this in mind as we consider all factors that could eventually lead us to change the pairing of the LP. All right. Why does Bernie have to manually be replenished? This leads to it running out of funds. Why can't Bernie be fully automated so this never happens? So fully automated solutions are quite amazing, but there are additional issues to consider. For example, blockchain congestion can cause automations to fail, which has happened in the past for Bernie, and that had to be updated. Bad actors can also attempt to utilize automated processes unethically, and or the automation might execute at not an ideal time. Beyond that, the Treasury will have varying levels of performance month by month and week by week, and we need the ability to manually manage those funds through the multi-sig, and the profit taking off of the local top of MATIC, the MATIC pump, was a perfect example. And we now have over $500,000 to use to fund Bernie over time. So these are kind of all the reasons why Bernie's funds are handled manually. The team always tries to be proactive, and sometimes there may be a bit of delay making sure Bernie is refueled. Bernie is definitely a high priority with us, but there will be a handful of times when he's not necessarily the first priority, because there's a lot of action happening behind the scenes and within the multi-sig wallet. And of course, we have a lot of great plans cooking for Sphere. So all that is to say that, there's a lot to consider with Bernie being manually replenished. And for now, it will definitely stay that way because it allows us more flexibility. All right. So those were actually two pretty big questions, I thought, within Voice of the Community. Hopefully it was, hopefully that was satisfactory in terms of those questions. But we can now move on to our AMA questions. Before I do, it is quite quiet in the stage chat. But does anyone have any questions on those things before we move forward? Let's see. Been a rough day. Yeah, it's been a rough couple days in the market. My tea is fantastic. Thank you. I am doing good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have to make my tea slightly ahead of time so that it is nice and not too hot. When indeed. All right, well, let's forge ahead and go to the AMA questions. Now, let me orient myself to the appropriate question. Here we are. Okay, so I will read off the questions as before for the people on Discord, and then, of course, people on YouTube will be able to see the question on the video. So Kid Bucko asked, people are getting real excited about the upcoming Dyson. Are there any plans to market it to a wider audience outside of Sphere? Or are we going to keep it all in-house on the down low hush hush like we have with our other released products? It is time for some decent exposure for the team's hard work, I think. So Dyson actually represents a great opportunity to reach people who are not a part of the Sphere ecosystem. And we are definitely working to take full advantage of that. So we want to utilize Dyson's strategic partners to reach their communities and expose them to Dyson, and then, of course, ultimately to Sphere. So taking a look at the GNS strategy is a great example. GNS, last I checked, had a market cap of over 100 million, daily DEX volume in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and a staking pool TVL of over 75 million. That was before the crash in market, so those numbers might be a bit lower. But being that Dyson is the first to bring a GNS compounding pool to market for GNS stakers, we definitely want them to know about it. So another important thing to note about this is that it actually benefits the Gains network too, because Dyson's going to automate by pressure on the GNS token for this auto compounding strategy. And then the token being sold for that is actually the DAI stablecoin. So it really is a win-win for GNS and for Sphere. So definitely, please feel free to share this information with others and about how Dyson is maximizing these types of yields. It is definitely intended to reach a wider audience of users, and we're definitely very excited about it. All right. String Theory asked, will we hear about Victor's progress and partnership announcements and big deals done before 2023? So this is a great question. However, business partnerships will almost certainly never be announced until they have been formalized, finalized, made official. So stay tuned because Victor is getting around, but we can't announce anything until it's finalized. And that's kind of true across the board within all of, tech companies in general, really. All right. The Beef asked, how dependent is the team's pay on the farming strategy? In other words, if we had a normal LP size tied with MATIC, could the team be sustained? This question is entirely dependent on what your definition of normal sized LP means. If it ever would be considered paying the team directly from the treasury versus from treasury yields, and it makes more sense through treasury yields. And then also how long sustained is. These are all very significant variables. Currently, our approach is to farm the treasury and use the treasury yields to pay the team and expenses and keep injecting more funds into compounding the treasury, into buying and burning Sphere, and into the LP to keep it growing over time. And we've been able to do that without actually having to chunk away at the actual treasury's assets, right? It's all through the yield. And we believe with our current team size, treasury size, yield results, that we have a very solid runway to keep growing, even if the market does not enter into its next crypto spring soon. And I would say and hope that the past several months in the market and with the performance of the treasury and Sphere expanding its team, still being able to provide all these buyback burns is a testament to that. All right, 2 questions from Mr. Plob. First question. Is Dyson being launched as a minimal viable product with the full expectation that there will be teething problems, which will be worked out in the coming weeks and months, or is it being launched as a fully completed, robustly tested product that is expected to work with minimum issues? So Dyson, first off, Dyson is the name for the overall systems included within it, which are going to be your standard strategy, standard, like simple compounding, as well as the exotic strategies, and then of course the buy burn bot, LP injection bot. Dyson will launch with multiple standalone strategies and the bot active. It is of course tested, and we certainly hope it works with minimal issues, but as with anything in development, there may be small unexpected issues that we would, of course, work to address in a timely manner. We do expect many more strategies to continually launch as partnerships and awareness grows. But in general, and I think I touched upon this previously, with Sphere, we're not out to rush and produce like hundreds of different products just for the sake of it. Our goal is to build capital efficient solutions, foundations of DeFi, both for the users and for projects. This is why it takes so much time for these products to be released after they're mentioned and talked about. We need to make sure that foundationally they are up to our standards. But good question. Plob, next question asked, what is the high-level strategy for deploying the over $500,000 of capital for buyback burning? Does it not make more sense to buyback burn a bit more aggressively now when prices are lower? So interesting question here. There are several factors to consider when deciding exactly how to deploy these funds for buyback burning. Thanks to Bernie, some of that is automated for us, but other factors to consider are overall market conditions and sentiment, the Sphere community sentiment, and new platform launches within the Sphere ecosystem. Within this, it is definitely important to keep in mind that aggressive buy pressure in a bear market is only ever viewed as a new opportunity to sell, which can cause the price to crash back down. And goodness, if the past couple of days within the market is not a good example of that, then I don't know what is. So in the majority of circumstances, it will make more sense to gradually inject these funds into the LP via buying and burning Sphere through burning. This kind of allows a more natural progression of the market. It's going to prevent significant slippage when using the funds. So in that sense, it will be more efficient thanks to lower slippage. And it will also limit the number of potential bad actors looking to game the system. So in a nutshell, with these funds, it's about sustainability, long-term focus, and also the cognizant use of treasury funds. But it is a good question. Just a second. I want to try something here. Or take a look at something, rather. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, next question from Nani. Given that Dyson is being talked about as the game-changing product, what is the plan to ensure it has a big launch event and is marketed properly to the DeFi world? You can't take the same approach of no marketing, it's bear market, sir. With this product, it needs outside investors, not just all the people diluting funds across the ecosystem like previous products. This question is very similar to Kid Bucko's earlier in the stream, but to reiterate a bit, we agree that Dyson represents a great opportunity to reach people who are not part of the Sphere ecosystem. We all know that yield farming is a massive part of DeFi, and we want to make that much more capital efficient for everybody. And again, Dyson's partnerships and strategies mean that Dyson will be a highly useful tool for other communities. And we talked about the Gains Network community, GNS staking pool. Currently has a TVL of, I think it's under 75. I think it's about 70. No, I think it's over 60 million. You'll have to check and let me know. But either way, there's a significant TVL in the GNS staking pool, and there's no other GNS strategy like Dyson's currently on the market. So this is all, of course, a big deal, hopefully for them and for us. And it's just one example of Dyson's future strategies. And I mentioned this as well earlier, but it's also important to keep in mind that this type of strategy is win-win for Gains Network and Sphere, because just by nature of the auto compounding, Dyson's going to automate buy pressure on GNS by selling DAI. And then within Dyson, performance fees buy and burn Sphere, inject into Sphere's liquidity. So yes, Dyson is absolutely intended to reach a wide audience, and we definitely want others to know about it and its yield maximizing strategies. Absolutely. All right. Oh, did I Oh yes, no. I'm sorry. I'm confusing myself. Next question, Peter Hawk 71. Are there any plans to share the MATIC gains with the community any other way than just burning Sphere? How about using a percentage of that amount to give back to holders in the form of Sphere or other tokens, for example, MATIC as earnings? Ultimately, the Treasury is for Sphere holders, and there are several ways that the Treasury funds will be distributed to Sphere holders over time. Number one, of course, is through buying and burning Sphere. This is going to lead to a decrease in circulating supply, increase in token scarcity, making each remaining Sphere token inherently more valuable, by which I mean there will be fewer of them. So that absolutely benefits everyone. Number two is through liquidity injection, because as the liquidity pool grows, the paired token with Sphere will grow as well, giving more room for the LP to accommodate buying, selling, and profit taking. More liquidity will also encourage more volume to bring more LP fee revenue. Number three, in terms of how the Treasury is distributed to Sphere holders, is through the Treasury yield farming revenue, which, as we've seen, is used to compound Treasury holdings and also fund burning. And then number four, there's lots of ways we structure this to give back to Sphere holders, but I think number four is actually what you're getting at, and that's through VE Sphere or SP Sphere. So this is exactly what you're referring to, Peter Hawk 71. So when Sphere transitions to V3, Sphere holders will be able to stake their Sphere as an 80/20 LP as VE Sphere for that vested period of time, currently estimated to be 1 year at a maximum. And then an alternative will be SP Sphere through Sphere's liquid markets, which will then allow you to both stake and remain liquid to essentially avoid the time lock and still earn the same earnings as VE Sphere. So VE Sphere and SP Sphere stakers will earn ecosystem revenue in the form of Dyson LPs. So yes, absolutely, a percentage of Treasury earnings will be distributed to Sphere V3 stakers as those Dyson LPs. So once V3 launches, the portion of revenue that goes to buying and burning Sphere versus to V3 stakers is still in discussion, but it's another method by which that revenue and that yield from within the Treasury can be distributed to Sphere holders. I really liked this question. All right. OX Sebastian G asked, can we go back to MATIC pairing if we see again 0.5 to 0.6 with MATIC, and then ride MATIC back up. So I kind of answered this question earlier in the voice of the community section, but I'll summarize again. So a pump in MATIC is definitely exciting, and the team made excellent use of it, in my opinion, by de-risking some of the Treasury's MATIC position to secure over 500K for Bernie. However, as you can tell by the price action over the past couple days, a temporary pump in price from bullish news does not mean that the entire market's changing sentiment. So at the end of the day, there are going to be many factors to consider when determining if and when to change Sphere's base pairing. And so ultimately, we won't make that decision based on a local price top or pump. But we definitely appreciate your bullishness. We definitely appreciate that. All right. So last question in AMA questions for now from Sinner, FUD Fighter. Now that overnight.fi is pulling out of some of our projects, what's left to save them? So the nature of DeFi and traditional finance for that matter is that liquidity is always going to be moving. So this does not mean that projects are in need of saving. Dystopia with Penrose and Cone with Unknown are still fully active and functional. So they're not in need of saving, and liquidity is going to move in and out of projects. It's always going to be moving. That is the nature of DeFi. All right. Let me jump on back to stage chat. Take a look. So Nip, what GNS networks release timeline like? Well, if you're referring to GNS itself, Gains Network's already out. If you're referring to the Dyson strategy, that will be it's planned to be released with the release of Dyson. All right. Actually, there's some questions in the live stream I wanted to address as well. Ronald Gignac asked, the 500,000 MATIC cell go all for burning spheres? Yes. So the profit from the MATIC pump and that cell, it's all going to buying and burning sphere. And that'll be done through Bernie over time. And then Brian V asked, I've been away for a bit. Is Dyson live yet or still pending release? We are still pending release, finalizing a few things on Dyson, and yeah, so not yet, still pending release. But follow along if you'd like on the announcements section of the Discord. That's a great way to stay up to date on what's going on. I'll also do my best through YouTube to talk about these things as they come forward. All right. How's everyone feeling? I know that the market's just been quite rough, but how's everyone feeling? I'm just checking right now. So Bitcoin is taking quite a crumble, pushing its way down to 15K. ETH is just hovering over $1,000 right now. And then MATIC is down to just over 78 cents. So unfortunately, the bleeding continues. Yeah, I absolutely agree. The will market's just it's just a blip in the overall. Absolutely agree. It's hard sometimes though, because people get into it's just market psychology. It can be very emotionally draining. Price time might be irrelevant, but what do you think about the Solana epoch tomorrow where nearly 1 bill will get unstaked? I guess I don't have too much of an opinion on that. I guess time will tell. Certainly when a massive amount is unstaked, you could potentially be looking at a supply shock as the circulating supply suddenly grows, as the staked assets become unstaked, but hard to say. I agree, Pandu. I'm one of those people. I have a very long-term outlook. First off, I have tried trading myself for quite some time in the past until I came to the conclusion that I'm just too much of an emotional trader and it doesn't work for me. Other people, I wish them the best, but for me, I have a very long-term outlook on things. So absolutely, when I see red, I get excited. It's quite the opposite for me. When I see green, I'm like, oh no, now it's too much, and I'd like to see the red again. Oh boy, how long have you been in crypto? What's the first thing you ever invested in? Did you make a profit or loss? My goodness, you're making me rack the brain. How long has it been now? It's been a few years. I'm trying to think. Honestly, I want to say it was probably just some stable coins. And yeah, man, that's you know what? Now, because I have to think back here. One of the first things really within DeFi that caught my attention was actually Klima DAO, with its tokenized carbon, because I just loved the concept of using crypto and DeFi to do something good for the all the carbon emissions. So that was something that I was there for its launch. That might have been one of the earliest things. Sheeb actually, believe it or not, I had noticed there was that price floor of Shiba Inu before it took off, and I did make a decent profit off that. But I think overall it kind of washes out in the long run, and obviously, none of this is investment advice. You got to kind of do things based on your own understanding. Some of the best advice I was given was, never invest more than you can afford to lose. So for me, anything I put into investments, I see it as lost funds until proven otherwise. And then the other side of that, I've already completely forgotten. Yeah. So never investing more than you can afford to lose. But then also, don't invest in anything you don't understand. So if you don't understand how it's functioning or what's going on, then you really shouldn't be investing in it necessarily until you can really understand it. I think that's good advice too, and I think that comes from Warren Buffett. I may be wrong on that though. Yeah, I think again, I think it's Warren Buffett. What is it? Buy from the fearful and sell to the greedy. So it's I'm fascinated by market psychology, so all of this stuff is very interesting to me, and the way market psychology plays into how markets move. It's fascinating. You'd think I'd be a better trader. I'm not. It's about knowing yourself, right? All right. So let me just double check. Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. All right. What do I do? Plan on doing a face reveal. I'm not necessarily sure. I'm not necessarily sure if I will or not. Yeah. That's still TBD on if that would happen. In general, I like being more of a private person. Sphere hits $1. Well, we will all be very happy people. Yeah. That is something to be said, Nip. Actually, I'm a fan of other YouTubers, of course, and I got into watching YouTube through gaming. So one of the longtime gamers I've watched is actually Ethos Lab. If any of you know who that is, he plays Minecraft. He's got a very long-standing series, and I kind of like that he never shows his face. It's kind of nice to have that edge of mysteriousness. Yeah, leaving it up to imagination. Yeah, he's quite funny. He's very entertaining videos. Highly recommended if you're into that sort of thing. Ethos Lab. All right. Well, we're about 40 minutes in. I've had a chance to go through all the material that I was hoping to cover. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, no, never mind. We're all good on that front. So, yeah. Do you guys have any other lingering questions, painful emotions that you're going through right now, given the current price action of the market? Hey, what's nice though is everything is crushing real hard, but Sphere, we've got that little bit of a pump going at the edge of that giant red candle. The biggest short squeeze of all time. Yeah. Where is it? Where am I looking? There we go. Is there any talk between the devs about Cone and Unknown since they aren't performing that well? Any new strategies? There's always discussion about all of these platforms, how they can be improved upon. Actually, if you check I believe it's the Penrose and Unknown announcements, just a couple days ago, they released the different things that they're working on, and even the front end. I think they're looking to kind of revamp as well. So definitely continues to be looked at. This isn't something that we just want to kind of plop down and then run away from. We do want to assist it forward as well. But this, especially from Cone, yeah, same deal. Overnight. So yeah, based on Overnight's announcement, it looked like they were going to pull liquidity from both Cone and Unknown, and unfortunately, as is the nature of DeFi, liquidity moves around. Yeah, you can double check on the announcements on that, but I believe what I read was both Cone and Dystopia. So who thinks we're gonna see 10K on Bitcoin? We're pushing down for 15K right now. Yeah, we'll see, Nip. Hopefully. S Palicious, why did you guys pair with USD Plus instead of USDC? So essentially because USD Plus is more capital efficient. I've used that phrase so much, but basically, and I'm talking like Sim, USD Plus provides that yield, so it's a passive growth of the liquidity pool based on what the overnight team is able to produce through its yield farming. So USDC by itself wouldn't produce any passive liquidity growth, but USD Plus has that ability thanks to its yield farming structure in the background by overnight finance. That Sphere's liquidity is going to passively grow. So if no one traded Sphere whatsoever, then the LP would grow at half the rate of the APY of USD Plus, which is pretty cool. All right. Are there any updates on the Equinox dev? Did overnight compensate the funds? I don't know of any updates on that. You may have to refer to the overnight team. I do know that they're going through the process of figuring out a compensation structure. $10K, 12K bottom. Yeah, we will see. So I like my name because price time. We will see what the price will be in time. All right. Huh. Okay. So I'll probably wrap things up in just a minute or so here. Anything else I can address before we close? I mean, usually I go by price, Ahmed. So Ahmed, my name was actually initially just price by itself. Kind of from Warren Buffett, he would say price is what you pay, value is what you get. And then, when you look at price action, all you're looking at is price over time, the change in price over time. So I just really like price, but then no one could find me because if you look up price, of course, it's very unspecific and non-specific. So price time helped out a little bit, but yeah, you can just call me price. Time to price, yeah. I mean, markets are just the change in price over time and the movement of the masses in response to that. All right, friends. It's been good questions this week. I will say I enjoyed responding to them. They were good, thought provoking, and I'm sorry the market is the way it is, but we will trudge forward regardless. Any discussion of doing different game nights instead of poker? It can certainly be discussed. I actually do not know how to play poker myself, so I definitely would be on board with trying to expand the different game nights. It's also in the back of my mind to eventually try and organize some like art contests. I think that would be really fun for everyone. So perhaps in time. All right. With that, I think I will close off the AMA. Maybe an RG game, more fair, Uno. Yeah, something like that could be considered. Nice, Bandu. All right, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Always remember you matter for who you are. And I will see you all next week. All the best.